All right, so here is getting ready to play Japan 5, and I apologize. I was on a road trip on Japan 5, so I was on my laptop and could not actually record while taking my turn. So I took some pictures along the way, and I'm doing this after the fact. So that being said, the quick look kind of tells a picture. The big things for the axis for us is we knew we were planning on trying to see if we can make this stack and six, the whole G6 J6 bit happen in Kaza, but at the same time we were worried about the possibility of a France stack, and so we kind of knew at this point that if they came with a France stack that we were going to have to pull out and move back to West Russia. And so we were already in our minds kind of getting ready for the process of have to get out of Caucasus, get into West Russia, try and dead zone Karelia while also come back and dead zone France. Because to be perfectly honest, actually I got a picture of this here. Let's see. Here we go. They didn't even need to bring all the transports that they could bring to do the stack. They really just needed 3 transports. They had a couple fighters here, so they could still be cycling these transports back for the next round as well. And he does have some fighters down here that are circling all between these fighters. So we knew they could stack France. The question was, could we get enough going towards Karelia that if they don't stack France, we could stack Karelia and or West Russia or Caucasus. We wanted to keep a strong eastern front, but at the same time, if they did stack France, we did the calculations so that we would be able to build in Berlin, bring guys back, bring tanks back, bring fighters back, so that they could not stay there. So this is, like I said, this is round 5. So we would bring them back on G6, that UK6, US6. This would be dead zoned, and they'd have to be inefficient and use their transports to move them back out of France or settle on us getting an advantageous attack on France. Now, I'll tell you, it was a very slim margin. I mean, very, very slim margin as we talked about it. So um, we did a lot of different plays to try to help ourselves out this way. But in any case, so this is what Europe looked like, what we were thinking about that they're going to be doing potentially for the France stack, how we can counter it if they go for the France stack while still trying for that um, Germany helping Japan get a J6 stack in Kaza. And this is what the Asian Pacific side. UK did build a destroyer down here, which I put a question mark. I really wasn't quite sure on this. Because I mean they got 17 units here, and it's not like I had a threat on here. We had the 3 transports and the 1 transport below, so 8. We did have our air, 14, 15, but it would have taken everything we had to try to attack India. So it just seemed like a little bit of a waste of a purchase for me, but I was happy. You know, this goes to my Japan fleet in the south. It was these guys coming in here that I think prompted this because it did prevent me from being able to take the transport into the Red Sea and creating complications up here for them. So I was happy that we made them purchase a destroyer. That's always a positive. But my plans was that the fighter could fly up to Kaza, for that stacking 1, 2, 3, 4 that we're talking about. Meanwhile, my plan is for the fleet to go 5 here, 6 into C Zone 27. Meanwhile, I got destroyer sub and my transport here that can come 5 here, and then 6 also in 27. So my 2 fleets are going to be able to merge right here and be able to attack on J6 South Africa. So his 3 and 1, if he went in and attacked South Africa, I was going to have 2 transports loads plus a battleship plus potentially this fighter that if I didn't need to go to Kaza could be with me, so I could turn around and wipe him back out, and then also had the fleet sitting here, so that it was going to be hard to get more U.S. troops into southern Africa. at the same time as all that other stuff that we were talking about with the France, they have to devote to France stack as well as trying to prevent us stacking Kaza. So, you know, we're going into this knowing that 6 is our big round. Um, and we've been planning this since, what, 3 or 4. If for some reason, if they send everything that direction and they can't defend it, then I also had the ability to take Brazil with a transport. So this is also making them have to think about bringing a transport down to counter Brazil instead of going to France. Or I also had the option that I could come in here with the transport and attack anywhere along this western border of Africa. So that's kind of what we were planning on. We purchased factory and 10 infantry. I always like it when on J5. I've got all my transports and my factories done and built. So combat was taking Madagascar, take Gaza, walking into Volgard Vol up there. Um, so that's was the plan for the attack. Obviously, not really much attack. Oh, in Burma there, not much actual attacking happening there. So we won, we won, we won. Of course, we took that. And then, so like I said, non-combating, moving the fleets to those 2 spots, ready to be able to combine or do whatever we wanted to. Meanwhile, getting everything moved up. Again, we purchased those tanks in round 4 so that they could get to Kaza in 6. And then, of course, shucking along. So, that's our J5 turn. Sorry I didn't have more of the live gameplay type to show you, but we'll be back live come J6. Okay, so here we are, J6. I started playing again, forgetting about recording, so I apologize a little bit. But in any case, I caught myself before getting too far along. Not a whole lot going on regardless. You know, Japan's turn's fairly straightforward. So the most important thing is they did decide to unstack France. So they're pulling out their units and moving them over to Karelia and Finland, which we had the battle down to, and they made a comment that, you know, they're a fighter or 2 short of being able to hold it, which again we were calculating. That's why we brought our tanks back. Unfortunately, Germany did lose a fighter when they had 2 infantry here. We had 1 infantry, 2 fighters, or a stack of fighters, I forget, hit there, and they got 2 hits on the first round. Let's see, it was 3 fighters. Yeah, so we did 1 infantry, 3 fighters on Northwest Europe, and we hit their infantry, killed their 2 infantry, but they killed 1 of our fighters too. So that was unfortunate. 1 round too. So it is a dice game. That's part of it. So we were actually 1 fighter shorter than we were hoping for attacking France, but nonetheless, they did decide to retreat. Which, in my comments to Terrence, my thought was if I was in their shoes, I would pull out of France, dump into Finland, strafe West Russia, and try to minimize this and see if they can't break into stacking Karelia. Because if they stack Karelia, then that's gonna be trouble. His feeling is that we would have enough to be able to hit, and you know, with us stacking Kaza, they can only go but so far with Russia. So we'll see. That we could still hopefully dead zone Karelia. We're hoping. We're gonna see. So the good news is, yes, we're going to be able to stack Kazakh on J6. So that's the nice thing. That was the whole intention of this move. Part of me wonders if he should have gone to Ukraine, but then that almost guarantees that they would have Karelia because we wouldn't be able to trade it for turn, and they'd land all the fighters. So going to West Russia really, they can't take it outright, or Japan will take Moscow, right? So they got to leave some there, and we got our tanks and fighters, so we can keep it dead zone, so we can trade it again. The question is, can we get enough here G7 to continue to dead zone it, or are they going to be able to start to stack it at that point? hopefully it pays off. Uh, I did decide, so I had I think 48 IPC, and looking at this, Japan's going to get 47 plus 1 is going to be 48. This one's not a guarantee, so I'm just going to count that we're going to have 48. And with us getting Kazakh on J6, this is a time that I think building a factory here is a good idea because it's going to be a while till Japan can take Caucasus. Putting two infantry at, or two artillery, excuse me, at a turn at the front gates, I think is just powerful when we're still also going to be able to build 13 units. So I saved 6 IPC in my purchase. So I built 10 infantry, 3 artillery to fill these spots and saved 6. So that'll have a guaranteed 54, so I can spend 39 on infantry and put a factory down in J7. So this was the whole intent of trying to get this whole kind of setup over the last 2-3 rounds was all about getting an early Kazakh stack to get pressure on Moscow as fast as possible. The part that's going to be questionable, and we're just going to see how it goes, is this understacking West Russia intentionally, and if they strafe it and what kind of results come out of it. Down here in South Africa, so we were prepared to take Brazil and sacrifice the Japan transport if it meant pulling a U.S. transport away from the France stack. Since they're now not stacking France, they'll be able to take Brazil fairly easily. So we're leaning towards we're just going to bring all 6 down here and stack South Africa since he just has 5 infantry and a tank down here. Make them bring more units if they want to clear out South Africa. Keep getting some money, bonus money for Germany here, as well as with the Caucasus money they've been getting. So that's where we stand. That's a fast catch up. Hopefully that works. So my attacks are pretty simple, just taking Arch for free. Gonna take Burma here. We're gonna stack Kazakh. You know, I'm doing 1 infantry, 1 bomber, since they have no tanks, so it's not as to not divert too many units to Burma. You know, minimize our distracted units to Burma. If he had hit, it's not terrible because all he could do is get to Burma. He can blitz through and get extra. So I do want to go ahead and put here so that he doesn't just go right on through, which, I mean, they could fighter kill him and then blitz with the Americans and then blitz a tank through. If they choose to do that, so be it. We'll always be able to pull a tank back through the back door. Now I do want to change my defensive profile just a little bit. Leave. No, I want the bomber before the tank. Let's see. Well, I'm not gonna do it on the video here. I'm gonna search. Basically, I want it to be infantry and then bomber, or AA infantry then bomber, in case they did decide to attack here, because it is a little bit of coin flippish. Slightly tilted to the Japan favor, so I doubt they'll attack. But if they do, I want to make sure we're in a best case scenario. But I'll save that. So I did decide I'm going to bring everything over here to C-Zone 27. Not because I can do a whole lot with it, but just because it means if they're going to bring another transport down to the southern half of Africa, they'll have to commit an extra boat or two to come on down here to protect them, which means that's a couple less boats in C-Zone 8 and 6 and 3 and 5 and all that sort of stuff. So try to just spread their navy out. You know, the good news is we already made them build an extra sub and an extra destroyer from our play, so that was nice. I mean, that's money spent on boats that, you just prefer not to build boats when you don't have to. This bomber's still a little bit pesky. I kind of want to bring some of my boats over. We're not going to be able to match up with these guys regardless, so I think we'll just keep them back here. There's nothing really beneficial I can do with them anyways. I hate having overkill sitting around here, but I really don't have anywhere else for them to go that would be beneficial. So yeah, so there's where we're at. I'm going to change my defense profile and then move on. Okay, so here we are heading into J7. The quick synopsis is that like I said, they evacuated the France before, so they're moving everything back up into the northern Shuck. My distraction technique worked. We pulled all this U.S. fleet down into this direction. So, I'm happy about this. This is, they built the sub. They had to pull stuff down here. This is stuff that's not going up here this turn or in the mid. So we had the distraction technique worked. It pulled them out. But at this point, as far as this component is concerned, they can send 5 infantry, a tank, and just this 1 fighter next turn and have like 60% odds of wiping out South Africa. And if they don't quite finish, they can still send the artillery and bomber from UK. So it appears the Japan units have worn out their welcome in Africa, and so we're just going to take Congo with 1, move the other 3 over here to Sea Zone 29 and the whole fleet, and Madagascar. He's got 2 threatening him. That's not a concern of me. So now they're threatening India along with these guys, along with all my air and everything. So they're going to continue to distract them. But so J7, they can come here. J8, they can come here, pick up the 1 infantry. J9, they can dump on into here. J10, they can transfer units while 2 of these transports coming over here to come then take J11 for Hawaii, West Australia, Alaska. So that's our fleet plans going forward right now. Unless something changes and we get an opportunity to bring fleet back into the towards the Red Sea and whatnot here. Up here, we were able to move our Germans right onto Corelli and stack that. It's going to be thin for a little bit, so we want to build this up as fast as we can and potentially be ready to move some fighters and tanks over until some more Germans can get up that way to reinforce. On German's turn, they did take out Persia, so that UK couldn't take out Caucasus. So now, again, we make Russia have to decide if they want to take out Caucasus. They will have to do it on their own. We also let them an AA that they have to fight against, and then they're going to have at least this one, hopefully this one, for trading as well. So that's what the current setup looks like, and feeling pretty solid. We did save up enough so we can build that factory this turn. So we're going to build 12 infantry, artillery, and an industry. Put that industry down there in Kazakh, so that we'll now be building 15 units with 2 of them right on the front line. And we've got enough income to cover that, as currently our income's sitting at 46. And we're going to hopefully be expanding that a little bit more as we go along too, but it's enough to cover the 15 units regardless. So that's our build. So moving forward, we're going to go ahead and take this guy out. We did move the 1 German here to occupy Novo. Why this guy can come on up here. I got to decide whether to SBR or not. I got the extra dude here that I could use. I kind of, the whole bombing raid overall it is positive. So I kind of lean towards maybe hitting him. Seeing if Terrence is watching the game right now or not. Get his opinion on whether to SPR or not. I do think I'm hoping this turn I need the fighters still to stay in this area to protect Kazakh, but hoping that soon I can get them over here and help push around the Allied Navy here soon. So that's going to be the next step there. Yeah, I think we're going to skip the strategic bombing raid, even though it's, got nothing better for him to do, but just it's good to have that bomber for helping with restricting the Allied fleets coming up here. So I think we just want to not risk it at this point in the game. So, all right, I think we are set up. Not a whole lot of attacks this turn. Trying to decide. Yep, nope. I think we're just going to go with it. Good thing we sent 3 planes. I just realized I completely forgot Congo again. So, well, we got 4 units, so we're going to have an extra unit to flail around. Ah, jeez. Silly, silly mistake. You hate the silly ones. Otherwise, we're just going to get everything heading towards Moscow. We don't need to even put anybody here. I didn't make any other silly mistakes. All right, here we come in for Japan 8. Not a huge lot of stuff to report. One of the more interesting things again. We had some good battles go our way again as West Russia. Um, he retreated with 1 artillery, lost 2 infantry. So he attacked 2 infantry, 1 artillery, and didn't hit a thing. So that was very frustrating for the Allies, I'm sure. Otherwise, UK, they tried to trade Persia and France. They killed the units but didn't take the territories in either of those cases either. With Germany, we did move a stack 20 men into the Baltics here. I imagine they probably could have stacked Northwest Europe if they really wanted to, but we also knew doing that again would just create horrible inefficiencies in their logistics, and not to mention we'd be able to bring these guys back plus the 9 tanks, and most likely be able to repel it on the second turn again. So felt pretty good about it, but that also means we got a nice big chunk coming potentially to Karelia next turn. So that's a boon going that way, and hopefully that should help seal the door. Meanwhile, just to help, because we have the ability, looking at moving some of my tanks over here to Ukraine where they could be back up here, here, and they could come back here in another turn if they need to, or they can be, if they don't trade Caucasus like they've been avoiding because they don't want Japan to take it, then they still got the outlet into the Moscow. He could do a 3 fighter, 1 bomber strike. So 4 on 4. I think they lose more there than is worth it. The other thing they could do is, Russia could take West Russia and Caucasus, and then they could bring in these other fighters as well. These other 3 fighters could join the fight. Then it may be worth it, but then to land in one of these 2 areas, which would be threatened by Germany and Japan. So, that doesn't seem like very much sensible play either. So it's just a safety valve, and we can still hold Kaza as a stack. The other interesting play that I'm going to go for here is looking at how can I continue to be annoying with these guys. No longer is it really efficient for me to come over to West Australia here, because I was going to come over here with 3, pick him up, and then come to 36, and then kick out and come back with these transports. But now I can come to 34, then 36. Coming to 34, I can drop 1 infantry in Egypt, infantry artillery that are safe sitting in TJ, leave 1 infantry sitting here, bring my fleet up. We're going to have my Air Force and my bomber, and we'd still have 1 guy left on Madagascar that I could use a transport just to grab and come back and sacrifice if I wanted to, or lots of options that, regardless, Egypt will be dead zone for another turn or even tradable for another turn. So a little bonus income going there, and then the transports can come back and do their thing from that point. So the rest of our play is pretty straightforward. We're going to take this guy back and just keep pumping in here. Purchase, I had 49 IPC. Just maxing out my 15 units, put into artillery what we can. Probably next turn it'll get to the point where I need to sit down and kind of count out, how many turns is it going to take me to get enough build to take Russia. We're probably not too far away, so round 9 maybe is tanks, round 10 planes, round 11 taking Moscow. I don't know. I haven't counted it out, so we'll figure that out next turn. Right now we're just going to play pretty straightforward. I got nothing better to do. The one thing that I did make a comment on, so my sub-destroyer, battleship carrier, 2 fighters, sitting here. He will have 2 fighters, a bomber, destroyer, and 3 more fighters. So he'll actually have 5 fighters, a bomber, and a destroyer that can hit me here. And it's actually a 57% chance that he takes out the fleet. But they're probably going to lose their 5 fighters too, which I'm happy to do on this fleet. This fleet's really, it's lived its main utility. If I lose him, I'm not really that concerned. So I'm willing to take that risk, and I doubt they're willing to take it themselves. So I'm okay with that. He does have his subs chasing me around here. All right, I believe that's it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Guess it's a good thing I brought all these fighters up this way. 8 fighters missed in a row. Jeez. Again, this Burma, I'm just looking to kill his unit. I mean, if I take it, that's great. I'd love to do that too. Come on, Air Force. Thank you. We take it, that's great, but even if I don't take it, as long as he doesn't have a tank here that can blitz through and create headaches by coming down here into Thailand, I'm good. Do want to make sure my sub is not set to get to my... There we go. Make sure he's set to fight, since there is a carrier involved. Alright, so that's what it's going to look like. I'm just going to real quickly, again, this is a partner game. I don't want to goof things up. I'm just going to double check the calculation here, make sure it looks good before I commit my units. But that looks like that's what we're going to be. Alright, in post-recording time, I discovered that on Japan 9, I evidently had my screen recorder on the wrong window, and the entire time I was talking and playing the game, it wasn't showing Axis and Allies, it was showing a blank white screen. So rather than have y'all stare at a blank white screen and listen to me talk, although I talked quite a bit on that one, I'm just going to give the real super main highlights of J9, and that is that on UK9, they went all in with their Air Force from the UK to attack the Japan Navy I had sitting in the Red Sea. They lost badly. 2 fighters and a battleship still survived for Japan sitting in the Red Sea, as well as the transports. I really did not expect them to go for that battle, but they did, and so that's what we had left. I decided to continue to harass them, keeping 1 transport back, go and grab the guy with the Madagascar, and came up and dropped him in the Horn of Africa, and just tried to make Egypt, Africa annoying as possible for the Americans to clean up. I knew I was offering up the battleship transport as a possibility for the U.S. to send some air in there as well, and thought maybe we could kill off another airplane if they decided to go for the battleship again. Meanwhile, the other thing that I discussed in the video was Uh, Decided that J10 almost had like a 60% chance at taking Moscow, but just mapping it all out, we decided on a J12 plan for Moscow at this point. And so I did go ahead and buy 2 artillery for Kaza, of course, 2 artillery for Kwangtung, because again, putting them in J9 would get them to attacking Moscow in J12, and then put 3 tanks in Manchuria, because that's what it was going to take for any troops in Manchuria to make it to Moscow for J12. That was the main highlights. Otherwise, we started planning on non-combat moves, started working on getting guys off the islands. All right, sorry I didn't have much more. That's a super fast summary, and we should be back on track with J10. Ah, there you go. Okay, so here we go, J10. The quick summary is that U.S. did not go into the Med, which is not surprising since we had to draw some boats up this way to help protect. They did build 2 fighters out of their factory up here. Uh, one to defend up here, and 2 because they can fly into Moscow in 1 turn. So U.S. built up there. With Germany, we traded fairly heavily for France and Northwest Europe because we've got the Liberty 2. He's able to get these tanks sitting here in Baltic so that they can help dead zone France as well as come back into Karelia and threaten the stacks. So there's lots of a lot of flexibility here. Plus, it's allowing us to move some infantry up this way to continue to keep the plug in Karelia. U.S. did decide to go ahead and wipe out the battleship transport that was here at the cost of leaving Egypt and the Horn alone. So they are going to end up cleaning this up eventually, at least. But I feel like it bought us the time. With our last buy, I only need 3 transports for here, so 2 of the transports can come into the Central Pacific anyway, so I'm okay with losing that transport. Not a big deal to me. I do need to be careful that he does have a bomber here, so I can't leave these transports naked anymore. And these subs are coming in, so that'll make things get a little bit tricky over here in the Pacific. That next turn we may end up having to buy a destroyer or just move the transports out of the way because we've already got all our main attack force. We're planning on a J12, so really it is this guy, these guys, and the tanks. This is our last of our force coming in, plus the tanks, the 5 tanks that I'm going to be building into these 2. That's the last of our ground forces. That's going to make the J12 timing. So the next rounds of pulling units, and even these 6 units we're going to pull this turn, really are just bonus coming down here. So if I need to drop up here to avoid the subs, not a big deal. So that's where we stand. So yeah, so we're going to build the 2 artillery, 5 tanks, 2 artillery here for good old Kazakh, 5 tanks for in here, and then we'll put the rest of the money just to drop in infantry to keep pulling on in. Be going down here. We'll make him have to draw some units back this way at the very least, if nothing else. Make him go backwards. I think that's really it on the attacks. I mean, they can only build like 3-4 units anyway, so bombing's really kind of pointless unless I got really lucky. So I don't really have anything good to do with this guy. I thought about maybe attacking here and trying to kill the fighter, but is that really worth it for a 50-50? Do we need it? No. So not too concerned on that regards. Alright, so yeah, I believe that is all our attacks. And again, I'm going to put 2 up here just to continue the trade with. This guy again, he really has nothing to worry about. We're going to pull him back because he has nothing really to hit me with. And that'll allow me to use him if he puts anybody in here. I can use this artillery to trade it without pulling away from these forces. Or to help them. Whatever. Let's see here. We don't want that. I do want the transport. I'm going to leave the battleship back to help for cover with the cruiser. There may be a better way to play this. I honestly, I'm not really sure. I tried to think about it. What's the most efficient way? There isn't any good way to be able to place them both and be able to grab all 4 on one turn. Because these 3 are all 2 spots away from Pearl, and he's 2 spots away from up here. So no way to grab them all at one time. Having him here, potentially I could drop down here next turn to grab him and then back around, although these subs are going to be coming in. So I don't know. There may be a better way to play it. I'm not overly stressed. Most likely I'm going to take 3 infantry and a cruiser and just take Pearl next time. You know what? We're not going to do that. We're going to leave him back just in case he makes any moves down that way. And oh, there we go. I knew there was something I was forgetting. Y'all should have been shouting at me. Don't forget to chuck the units. Granted, again, these guys aren't needed for Moscow. These are needed for the follow-up. And there we go. Alright, here's the update heading into Japan 11. So, big story, of course, is Moscow. If I went for it right now, I have like an 82% chance of taking it. If I wait till J12, the calculator actually read 100%, and that's without having to build any air, this turn even, with all my lands coming in and my tanks coming in. So uh, that's the good news. The bad news is we're starting to get pretty tight up here. So we do got to plan this exit up here. And our strategy for getting Moscow and then strategically coming out of Karelia without Moscow just getting run back over. So, yeah, that's where we're at. U.S., UK are building up there, trading down here. The UK did shift and go ahead and stack Burma, which is, not unexpected. I actually thought that would happen a turn sooner, to be honest. I also got to watch out for the bomber and 2 subs here that could attack my stack here. So I'm going to be moving my cruiser back and putting one of my fighters that I'm building on the boat here. And even without a destroyer, that keeps it to under 5% chance for him taking out the fleet there. So that's where we're at. So I'm going to buy 2 fighters, 9 infantry, 2 artillery. We're going to stack up, plan the J-12 wipeout of Moscow, and then prepare for the fortification of Berlin and Moscow while defending against the flood that's about to get ready to come on at us. After we take Moscow, we'll also look at cleaning up this area down here. Okay, I apologize. Mid-recording, I must have hit stop or hit the hotkey or something. I'm not sure. But anyways, a quick summary of what did happen. We took Persia cleanly, and we took Hawaii with losing 1 infantry there. So those were really our only battles. I did come and bring him on down here. Technically 12 infantry and 2 fighters could kill him, but I'm not super concerned about that. We will take care of business if we have to take care of business after that. Our main goal is get Moscow, and then we can come back and clean them up. I did put a little conversation piece about putting my tanks in here instead of in Kaza. The idea being they can still hit Moscow, but also they can hit down here to help clean up down on the southeast if I need to. The one advantage of being in here is if we needed to, we could have gone J12, skip Moscow, let everybody else hit them, and then J13 and be in Berlin. But we're going to have them blocked up. He's not looking to leave here until G13, and then we'll have plenty of time of getting people, units back for that. Once we take Moscow, now that we got Hawaii, then we got to look at taking India and blocking out France for the VC win, or possibly getting enough units up here to challenge Karelia, but that would be tight. So that'll be the next step, looking how to close out the game once we get through the there. So, all right, that's it. One other comment: I am putting my fighter here so that I got battleship, cruiser, carrier, and fighter for his 2 subs and the bomber. Interestingly enough, I did have to make a new profile that I've never used before, in which I'm having the fighter go first, then carrier, then cruiser. I do have a fighter before carrier, but normally I have fighter, cruiser, carrier. But in this case, we just want the full defense. That order of loss makes it 5% whether he takes bomber first or subs first if he was to attack. I got a feeling he's going to send his subs straight on through to try to corner my transports, which, if he's sitting in 48, 49, I do think I should be able to bring him back up here, maybe build a destroyer if I want to, or bring him up to 64 if he's sitting here, and then the next turn bring him in with a stack with a destroyer and just shuck to the mainland. We got options, so we'll worry about that if and when that comes. Alright, so I started going in and playing my Japan 12, realizing I was not recording and forgot to do anything. So, in any case, the quick rundown, we did decide to stay in Karelia and just hunker down for the 1-2-3. They had I want to say it was like a 25% chance or something like that with the 1-2-3 being successful. They took shot 1 with the UK. Didn't go so well. We lost 9 infantry. They lost 21 infantry and artillery, 2 tanks, 3 fighters. So they're way behind the 8 ball in that regards. So next step is I'm going to put most of my Japan stack here on Caucasus, because that's going to allow me, rather than just stacking Moscow. So if I stocked Moscow, then the Russians could come to Ukraine and then move their way in for a 1-2-3 on Germany. Whereas putting them here pins them, so if they moved here, the Germans could attack them. If they move here, Japan can attack them. So the Russians aren't going to make it to Berlin in that regards. Plus, if the Russians take Moscow back, then Japan just takes it back and gets the double income of the 8 for taking it plus whatever income Russia got back from taking it, which would be at least 10. So that's why we're just going to minimally take that, although I do need to put the rest of my land units in there. That's just my that part so far. So we need to go ahead and put, is that enough? What's that? Talking with 4 infantry, 3 planes, and a bomber. That should be enough to take that pretty confidently. Let's see. Miny mo. Else got these guys, so we're just trading up these. He's moved back to India. We'll dance around here. I mean, if this goes into a late game, he could come down here into the peninsula, and I have to chase him down and whatever. Not super worried about that, because I don't think it's really going to come down to an end game. I did confession. I wanted to go ahead and wipe out the fleet with the 6 fighters and 1 bomber, versus 5 boats, and just get rid of those transports and run the risk. But Terrence would rather just stay super safe here in Karelia, bring him back for the inevitable. I mean, since they already took shot 1, they almost kind of have to take shot 2 and shot 3. So I gotta go ahead and just maximize our defense there. Good thing we took 4 planes there. Definitely a good thing we took 4 planes there. Nope. Cleans that up. We're gonna go ahead and bring everything on over this way. These guys would be as good as dead sitting there. I mean, we could sit there and I could send units and stack that, but in face of 25 UK units, I just don't think it's worth it. Put them on separate boats. My feeling is, if they're going, they kind of already indicated they're all in here, so let the fighters go that way. I'll get Brazil free. He'll bring his sub down and then kill it, but He's not going to be able to defend it unless he brings units down, which he doesn't want to do that. I did build, I forgot to mention, 2 fighters to place up here towards the front lines. I can go anywhere they need to reinforce any future attacks. And then we'll be building our ground back here to continue the march. That'll be that. I forgot to stop the recording there. Whoops. Okay, popping back in. U.S. and Russia did go ahead and try to finish off the 2-3 of the 1-2-3 attack on Karelia. As you can see, 8 fighters still surviving there. We still got our huge Japan army here. So that was pretty much it. They needed to have more success up there. At this point, Axis has over doubled the attack power. We're getting our money at this point. We got our Moscow money, so we're now at the higher income, so it was game over. So they did concede the game at this point in the Discord server, so that's going to be the end of this match. And we'll be coming back for the semifinal match of the duos coming up next. Keep your eye out for those videos. And we'll see if we get Axis or allies in that one.